Most people in their 30s think they understand money, but the average American only gets 48% of basic money questions right. And that gap is costing people over $1,000 a year in mistakes they don't even know they're making. These are the money rules that nobody taught anyone, and once they click, the way money looks will never be the same again. Here's what's wild. Most people go through school, get a job, start making money, and nobody ever sits them down to explain how any of this actually works. Not how interest quietly stacks up against them. Not how debt can be a tool or a trap depending on how it's used. Not why saving alone will never make anyone rich. Nobody taught this stuff, and that's not anyone's fault, but it is a problem. Around 1 in 3 Americans says their lack of money knowledge is directly holding them back from financial progress. Not low income, not bad luck, a lack of knowledge. But here's the thing. The concepts themselves are not complicated. Most of this can be explained in plain, simple words. So that's exactly what's happening right now. These are 8 core money concepts that will genuinely change how finances get thought about, starting with the one that most people get completely backwards. Number 1. Net worth is the only number that actually matters. Most people track their bank account balance and call it a day. That's the wrong number to watch. The number that actually tells someone where they stand financially is their net worth. Think of it like a scoreboard. On one side, everything owned that has value: savings, investments, a car, a home. On the other side, everything owed: credit card balances, car loans, student debt, a mortgage. Net worth is what's left when the debts get subtracted from the assets. That's the real score. Here's why this scoreboard matters more than the paycheck. Someone could be making $200,000 a year, but have a negative net worth if every dollar gets spent and high-interest debt keeps piling up. Someone else making $55,000 a year could be slowly building real wealth by living below their means and investing the difference. The person making less money can actually be in a better financial position. Income tells what comes in. Net worth tells what's actually being built. And every financial decision, how money gets spent, how debt gets handled, what gets invested, should be run through one question. Does this grow the net worth or shrink it? That single question changes everything. But knowing the score is only the start, because the next concept reveals that not all the numbers on the debt side of that scoreboard are equal. And the difference between them might be the most misunderstood thing in personal finance. Number 2, there is such a thing as good debt, but most debt is bad. Debt has a reputation as the enemy, and honestly, a lot of debt deserves that reputation. But not all of it is the same, and understanding the difference is one of the most important money concepts anyone can learn. Bad debt is borrowing money for things that lose value at a high interest rate. Credit cards are the classic example. The average credit card interest rate right now sits above 20%. Carry a $3,000 balance and make only minimum payments, and the total paid back could nearly double by the time it's cleared. That's money going directly out of a pocket and into a bank's. Good debt, on the other hand, is borrowing for something that can grow in value or increase earning power, ideally at a low interest rate. A mortgage on a home someone can afford. A student loan that leads to significantly higher income. A business loan that funds something profitable. These can work in a person's favor over time. The key questions are always, what's the interest rate? What is the money being borrowed for? And will this help or hurt the net worth over time? The rule of thumb is simple. Borrowing to buy something that loses value at a high interest rate is a drain. Period. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because once the debt picture is clear, the next question becomes, what's actually coming in versus going out each month? And most people's answer to that question is hazier than they'd like to admit. Number 3, a budget isn't a punishment, it's a spending plan. The word budget makes a lot of people uncomfortable. It sounds like restriction, like saying no to everything. But that's not what a budget is. A budget is just a plan for where money goes before the month starts. That's it. Without one, money arrives, gets spent on whatever feels urgent in the moment, and disappears. with no clear memory of where it went. Here's a simple framework that's helped millions of people. The 50-30-20 rule. Take the money that comes in after taxes. Put 50% toward needs, rent, groceries, utilities, minimum debt payments. Put 30% toward wants, restaurants, subscriptions, clothes. And put 20% toward savings and extra debt payments. Those percentages aren't perfect for every situation. Someone in a high cost of living city might need more than 50% for basics. Someone aggressively paying down debt might push more than 20% toward that. The framework isn't the point. The intentionality is. Telling money where to go instead of wondering where it went. The biggest budget mistake isn't spending too much on coffee. It's not tracking anything at all. Small leaks sink ships. Unused subscriptions renewing quietly. Fees that drain accounts. A budget makes all of that visible, and visibility is power. But even the most airtight budget can get destroyed in a single afternoon by something nobody saw coming. And that's exactly what the next concept protects against. Number 4, an emergency fund isn't optional. Here's a story that plays out constantly. Someone has a decent job, pays their bills on time, feels relatively stable. Then one Tuesday, the car makes a noise that sounds expensive. The repair is $800. There's no savings set aside for this. So it goes on a credit card at 22% interest. Now there's new debt, added financial stress on top of the original problem, and a harder hole to climb out of. That same scenario, in different forms, is one of the main reasons people end up trapped in cycles of debt they can't seem to shake. And it's almost entirely preventable. An emergency fund is money set aside specifically for unexpected expenses. Not for a vacation, not for a new phone, for genuine emergencies. The standard recommendation is 3 to 6 months worth of essential living expenses. Rent, food, utilities, the basics. That sounds like a lot, but it doesn't have to be built overnight. Starting with a goal of $1,000 is a huge move. That covers most small emergencies. Then slowly building from there. Even $50 or $100 a month adds up faster than expected. The emergency fund lives in a savings account that's accessible when needed, but not so accessible it gets spent casually. A high-yield savings account is a good option because it earns a little interest while it sits there. The whole point is simple. When something goes wrong, and eventually something will, there's no need to reach for a credit card. That alone changes everything. But having money set aside is one thing. Making that money actually grow over time is something else entirely. And most people have never been shown how that actually works. Number 5. Compound interest is either working for you or against you right now. Compound interest is the closest thing to a financial superpower that actually exists. And right now, for every person reading this, it is either building wealth quietly in the background or silently eating it away. There is no neutral. Here's the simplest way to understand it. Imagine a snowball at the top of a long hill. In the beginning, it's small, but as it rolls, it picks up more snow. And as it gets bigger, it picks up even more snow faster. The growth feeds itself. That's compound interest. Put $10,000 into an investment earning 7% per year and leave it alone. After 30 years, without adding a single extra dollar, it grows to roughly $76,000. The money made money, and then that money made more money, over and over for 3 decades. But that snowball rolls just as fast in the wrong direction. A credit card balance at 22% interest compounds too. Every month the balance isn't paid off, interest gets added, and then next month, interest gets charged on that interest. The hole gets deeper faster than most people realize. This is why people who start investing at 25 end up dramatically wealthier at 65 than people who start at 35, even with the same contributions. It's not about the amount, it's about time. Every year spent waiting is a year that snowball could have been rolling the right way. So where does the money actually go to get that snowball started? That's exactly what the next section is about. And the answer is probably already available through a job, just sitting there unclaimed. Number 6. Saving money and building wealth are not the same thing. Here's something that genuinely surprises people when they first hear it. Saving money and building wealth are not the same thing. They feel like the same thing, but they're not. Saving money means putting cash in a bank account. It's safe, it's stable. But inflation, the gradual rise in the cost of everything over time, slowly chips away at the buying power of money sitting still. If inflation runs at 3% and a savings account earns 1%, that money is technically growing in number, but shrinking in real value. Investing is how wealth actually gets built. Investing means putting money into assets that can grow: stocks, index funds, real estate, retirement accounts. The value goes up and down in the short term, which feels unsettling. But over long stretches of time, the stock market has historically returned around 7 to 10% per year on average. That outpaces inflation. That's real growth. The most accessible starting point for most people is a workplace 401k. If an employer matches contributions, meaning they add money for every dollar put in up to a certain amount, that is free money sitting on the table. Capturing it first should be the priority before anything else. After that, a Roth IRA is worth knowing about. Money goes in after taxes, but all the growth and future withdrawals in retirement come out tax-free. On a long enough timeline, that tax advantage alone can be worth a significant amount. Index funds are the other concept worth understanding. Instead of picking individual stocks and trying to guess winners, an index fund buys a small piece of the entire market. It's diversified by default, has low fees, and has historically beaten most professionally managed funds over time. It's not exciting, but it works. Now there's one more concept left, and it's the one that quietly sits underneath everything else. Most people feel it, but never say it out loud. Number 7. The credit score is a tool, not a judgment. Here's something not many people say, but probably should. A lot of adults feel low-key embarrassed about their credit score. Like it's a grade on their character. Like it means something about who they are. It doesn't. A credit score is just a number that tells lenders how likely someone is to pay back borrowed money. That's it. But understanding how it works can save a lot of money. Credit scores generally run from 300 to 850. Higher is better. A higher score means better odds of being approved for loans and lower interest rates when the answer is yes. Here's a practical example. On a $300,000 mortgage, the difference between a score of 620 and a score of 760 can be more than a full percentage point in interest rate. Over 30 years, that difference can add up to tens of thousands of dollars in extra interest, just from the starting score. The factors that matter most. Paying every bill on time, by far the biggest factor. Keeping the amount of credit used below about 30% of the available limit. Not opening too many new accounts at once. And keeping older accounts open, since length of history counts. The single best thing anyone can do for their score is set up automatic payments so nothing ever gets missed. Late payments hurt fast, but consistent on-time payments build steadily over time. Number 8. The knowledge gap is the real problem. Here's the moment of honesty this all builds toward. Most people feel some level of shame about not knowing this stuff, like they should have figured it out already, like everyone else has it together and they're the only one behind. So instead of learning, they avoid. Don't look at the bank account. Don't talk about money. Don't ask questions. And the avoidance makes everything harder. But look at the research. Around 74% of adults say they would have made better money decisions if they had been taught personal finance in school. 75% say they were never taught it at all. This isn't a personal failing. It's a gap in what got passed down. The concepts covered here: understanding net worth, separating good debt from bad, building a budget, keeping an emergency fund, letting compound interest roll the right way, investing for actual growth, managing a credit score. These aren't advanced strategies. These are the basics, the foundation. And most people in their 30s never got a clear walkthrough of a single one of them. Knowing is just step 1. Step 2 is doing something with it. Even one thing. Figure out the net worth number this week. Set up automatic payments. Open a high-yield savings account. Start contributing to a retirement account. One move starts the momentum. The gap between where someone is financially right now and where they want to be almost always comes down to these fundamentals. Not luck, not income, knowledge, and what gets done with it.